Jonathan,
Yeah,
that's a very nice shirt you got on.
I like your shirt too.
We're not here to talk about shirts today. We're here to talk about tech birthdays.
Yes, and this week we're covering October 18th through the 24th. And first off, we have Stanley Mazer, who's
Stanley Mazer.
known for the Intel 4004.
Yeah, this guy has an interesting story. I mean, he's born to Jewish parents and they moved to California. It doesn't say where he was born. Oh, actually, he was born in Chicago, Illinois. Okay. And they moved to California, specifically to Oakland, California, where he attended Oakland High School. So that's the alma mater for anybody that attended Oakland High School. You went to school with this. You went to the same school that a tech influencer went to. He graduated in 1959.
Mm-hmm.
After graduating high school, this guy went to San Francisco State University, in case you didn't get my short words there. But he majored in math and he studied helicopter design. And if that wasn't enough, he was also studying design and construction as a hobby. So this guy had an engineering mentality.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he liked to take apart things and put stuff back together. This guy, pretty crazy.
I wish they would include things that he got in trouble for doing, like taking apart mom's vacuum cleaner to figure out how it works,
Yeah.
pulling apart dad's drill because he thought it was fascinating that it had so much torque to screw in, anything and stuff. But what's interesting about him is that because he didn't study computers, but what he did is he got interested in computers while attending San Francisco State University. And he learned to program on an IBM 1620 computer back in the 60s. I mean, programming was not what it is today. Back in the 60s, it was much different. But the way that he took on programming is that he took on a position as a professor's assistant to teach other students the technology. I have to admit, teaching a technology is probably the best way for you to learn the technology because you have to do the research. Mm-hmm. One of the things that has happened between the interaction that you and I have had is that I play around the fact that, we're kind of hoping that things work. I actually know things work because I've tried it before. And if I'm not sure if it's going to work, I go through it and make sure that I know how it's going to happen. So it forces me to do that research. And so I totally can see this guy taking a position as a professor's assistant to teach other people because it's going to force him to learn and do the research. And so, yeah, I mean, he was involved in creating the microprocessor for Intel with 3 other guys, Ted Hoff, Masatoshi Shima. Remember, we talked about him a couple episodes back. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it was his birthday or a technology guy. I'm pretty sure it was his birthday because it's a person. And then the third guy is Federico Faggin. And so between these 4, they came up with the microprocessor architecture for the Intel 4004.
Wow. Pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah. I mean, we find these names, right? And you start reading the backstory and you're like, man, these guys have like a really interesting short story to them.
Yeah.
And you can see how they get involved.
And how some of the parts are like also connected too. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, everything is just kind of connected in history. Somehow or other, it connects to it. So I think we only had one birthday this time for this week in October.
Yeah, that's it about Stanley Mazer.
All right. Until next time.
Peace out.
Peace. All right. Let's see. We have Bill Gates. Oh man. We finally get to talk about good old Bill Gates.
Gates notes.
And then we have (1937), inventor of the microprocessor. We have to read up on this guy really quick too. And then we have
Frederick Edstam.
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 So this guy was the inventor of the microprocessor.
Nokia.
Wait,
This is the Nokia guy.
yeah, but says he's born 1916. Here it says he was born 1838. So I think they have it.
Oh no, you have it right.
Oh yeah, in 1838.
1938.
Wow.
He died in 1916.
How the heck? Finnish mining engineer and business, best known for the founder as a founder of Nokia in May 1865. What the heck was Nokia doing back then?
Paper.
Paper mill.
What? There's not a lot about him.
Let's go look at Nokia. Finnish multinational telecommunications, information technology, and consumer electronics company founded in 1865. The Greater Helsinki metropolitan area, but company's actual roots are in Tampere region of Pirkanmaa. Okay, so let's go to the history. What did they start off? A pulp mill.
Pulp. Oh, like, yeah, toilet paper and stuff. Interesting.
Manufacturing that converts wood chips and other plant fiber sources into a thick fiber board, which can be shipped to a paper mill for further processing. Pulp can be manufactured using mechanical, semi-chemical, or fully chemical methods. The finished product may be bleached. Wow.
Go paper.
I didn't know this about Nokia.
Yeah.
Nokia just does whatever it needs to survive. They did rubber works.
They were the old-fashioned snail mail. They made the snail mail.
Wow. Yeah, I think this is pretty interesting. Yeah, there's not a whole lot about him, so I guess we're gonna have to talk a little bit about Nokia.
All right,
But I think our first guy is
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill. Let me stop sharing here. All right. All right, so this is Tech Birthdays segment, October 25th through the 31st. And we'll start recording in 5, 4. Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's a very nice shirt you got on there.
Very nice shirt to you as well. Whoa, nice mug.
Oh, we're not here to talk about shirts or mugs.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about tech birthdays, Jonathan.
This week we're covering October 15th through the 31st. And first off, we have Bill Gates.
Man, oh man. Bill.
What
You
is
know,
he not?
it's kind of sad, the latest news, but we won't get into that. We want to talk about his success, okay? Because he's done a lot of good.
Yep.
And I know that no matter how many attaboys and pats in the backs you get, one shucks just takes away it just takes it all away, you know. And so that's kind of where he's at right now. But let's talk about the man that started Microsoft.
Mr. Bill Gates.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
he was the chief executive officer. He was a chief software architect. I think one of his favorite languages was BASIC, and then Visual Basic, and then Visual Basic.net. He really wanted BASIC to succeed, and he had a lot of followers, but there was something about BASIC that just didn't quite fit in the programming world. The programmers, or people who wanted to do programming, wanted curly braces, not begin and end syntax, which ends up being basically the same thing as something like C# or C or C++. But instead of using curly braces, you would use begin and end as your classes and methods and all that stuff. So it was a little bit more verbose. You had to type in a few more things. But yeah, BASIC was his child language. He definitely enjoyed it. He had a huge fan following, but it didn't really have a huge takeoff. However, Windows, starting from DOS, remember we talked about how Microsoft bought QDOS, which stood for quick and dirty operating system. It was just like somebody just created something quick and dirty.
Yeah.
But then they called it MS-DOS, and they renamed the DOS acronym to Disk Operating System, which meant that, hey, this is one of the first operating systems that uses a disk, you know, as storing the operating system in it. And then they came up with Windows 1, Windows 2, and it wasn't until Windows 3 where it was really taken serious, I should say. And then after Windows 3 was Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows Millennium, Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8 was a complete flop. And then they skipped 9 altogether and went straight to Windows 10, which I don't know that he was involved much by that point. I think he was done early on in Windows 95, Windows 98, maybe. I think once Windows XP and Windows 2000 and Windows 7 came about, I think his predecessor, who was Steve Ballmer, I think, already took over. And then recently we have Satya Nadella, who is the Satya Nadella, who is the current CEO. Nutella is the butter spread, isn't it? Hey, it's not my fault. His name sounds so close to that.
Like one letter off.
Yeah. Like one letter means something completely different. Nadella. But yeah, no, I mean, this guy, his story is amazing. I actually read a book about it's called something competing against luck or chance or something like that. And they talked about Bill and how him, as well as what was one of his competitors, not Jeff Bezos, but Steve Jobs was one of them. There was another guy from Sun Microsystem, and I forget what his name is.
Oh yeah.
They were all born within a couple of years of each other. Remember we talked about this?
Yeah.
And you know, this is like when computers really started taking off. You know, computers how we know them today.
Mhm.
And in this book, it talked about how he would spend like 10 hours a day programming. He would actually go at night, like after dinner, go to the university because computer rooms weren't locked. So, and he would sit there and just program the whole night, get home like around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And he didn't want to get up in the morning, you know, to go to his regular school, which was, I think he was either middle school or high school. I think back then they called it junior high. But it was middle school or high school. And I forget what grade he was in. But he would spend the whole night programming. And that's how this guy became a really good programmer. You know, he actually knew how to program really well. And so him and a couple other buddies, they started up Microsoft, and he became the CEO. And yeah, took Microsoft to pretty much to where it's at today for the most part. I mean, his successors, I should say, you know, have done quite a bit as well to move it along. But, you know, he pretty much was the slingshot that catapulted Microsoft to where it's at today.
Yeah.
What do you know about him, Jonathan?
Um,
I mean, he's in your era.
yeah. I mean, like obviously Microsoft, but also being one of the wealthiest people in the world. Says he's the fourth richest person in the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say at one point he was number 4. I don't know if he's still number 4, but he might be. Yeah.
But yeah, and his nonprofit with Melinda Gates. They always do like climate change stuff and all that stuff with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's done a lot of good. Definitely has donated a lot of money. Very cool. He's on Wikipedia, but he also has Gates Notes, a blog of Bill Gates. How to fight malaria during an epidemic. Well, let's get rid of this pop-up. Mosquito week. This week, I guess they're talking about mosquitoes. Very cool.
Yep. And then the pandemic. Yep.
Yeah.
He's done
everybody thinks that he's the one that came up with the microchip that's being installed in all of us through the COVID-19 vaccine. It'd be pretty incredible if you get a chip that small to get inserted in us. Very cool. Moving on.
Yeah, on to the next one. Marcian Edward, last name. Oh, Marcian Edward Hoff Jr.
Yeah. This guy was born in 1937 and was the inventor of the microprocessor.
Whoa.
I mean, gosh. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. He was born 1937. So we always look at the year that people were born. You're like, how can somebody be born in 1937 and create a microprocessor? Well, he didn't create it the day he was born. He had to grow into his knowledge, right? So you fast forward at least 20 years, that's 1957, which is about the time that computers were taking off. You know, that's like a lot of the computers that would take up the whole room and had like spaghetti as wire hanging out of them. This is kind of when he jumped in and he came up with the microprocessor architecture. Not necessarily what it is today, but his initial invention drove to where it's at right now.
Yeah, and it says that Hoff joined Intel in 1968 as employee number 12 and came up with the idea of the universal processor.
Yeah. I don't remember if we go back and look at our episode 1, remember how we were talking about how the operating system, the programming, all was specific to the hardware.
Mhm.
Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
So this work was the beginning stages of being able to build different machines and still be able to run different programs that were written for different machines and different hardware. You just create abstraction layers after abstraction layers,
Mhm.
in order to get down to where you needed to be. And so yeah, this was the beginning stages of all that work.
Wow. Cool. Next up, we have Frederick Eidstam. Eidstam.
Eidstam or Eidestam. Is it Knut or is it Newt? Knut Frederick Eidstam from Finland.
Who
So
is
what
the-
is he known for, Jonathan?
He's the founder of IKEA.
Oh, he was making phones?
I don't think Nokia was making phones in 1865.
1865. That's how long Nokia's been around?
Yeah, but before they were making phones, they were a paper mill and making pulp to send to other places to make paper.
So they went from a pulp company to a phone company.
That's pretty drastic change, I'd say.
That's pretty yeah. It just goes to show that a company will do whatever it needs to do to continue its business. But yeah, it was founded as a pulp mill, and then it went to rubber and cables. And then in the 1990s, it went into telecommunication infrastructure, including the famous Nokia phone, mobile phone, and smartphones.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, they used what they had, right?
Well, they did what they had to do. Yeah. And then they were very smart and they sold their phone line, their mobile phone business, to Microsoft. I think that was when Microsoft wanted to compete against Google and Apple, and they wanted to come up with the Microsoft phone. And so they bought the Nokia phone line from them, but it didn't work out too well for them. They had a really good idea. Let me tell you, I actually had one of their Windows phone from Nokia.
Mhm.
And man, it was actually really cool, but it came in a little bit too late. iPhone and Android had already taken the big, large footprints of the market, and there just wasn't any room for a third phone in there. I think if they would have jumped in a little bit earlier, they might have been in competition with them.
Well, yeah.
Wow. Frederick Eidstam,
Yeah,
or as they have it, Newt Frederick Einstam.
going way back in time.
Tell me about it. I mean, who would think that the 1800s would bring us to the mobile phones the way they are today?
Yeah.
So cool.
All right. Yeah, that's all we have for tech birthdays this week.
Excellent. Until next time.
Peace out.
Peace.